I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
They've done a fantastic job of manipulating this league, and they're not even being subtle. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. If it hadn't already been the Indiana Fever versus World game this season, we have evidence that the Fever's matchup with the defending champion New York Liberty had everything you could possibly want. Star power, high stakes, a sold-out independent arena, and the intensity of a playoff game. For many, it felt like a championship preview with two of the league's most exciting teams facing off in front of a national audience. It should have been a significant victory for the WNBA, but it's the WNBA, so naturally there had to be controversy, and once again, it came from the referees. I can't believe what I'm about to say. The Indiana Fever, who have the loudest, most intimidating home court advantage in the entire NBA, were robbed at home. I witnessed it live on CBS, and just like last season, fans were left baffled or screaming at their screens over missed calls, dubious fouls, and moments that turned the game in favor of the defending champions. The outrage was immediate, and social media was ablaze with fans and commentators. However, let's not limit the controversy to a few missed calls. We'll talk about those in a moment. But the real problem is that this is part of a much larger pattern that began last year, got worse during the preseason, and is now reaching a boiling point just a few games into the regular season. If you think I'm exaggerating, wait until you hear some of the statistics about how unfairly the officiating has been against the Fever this season. Not just one or two games, but every game. And the numbers are so embarrassing for the league that even the Fever have had enough. Head coach Stephanie White didn't mince words after the Liberty game. It wasn't ambiguous, it wasn't tactful, it was a straight-up warning shot. And even the normally composed Caitlin Clark added a little jab of her own. Let's go into the specifics of what happened, but first, watch this video to see if you think the referees are unfair to the Fever. If you disagree, leave a comment, and remember to subscribe. This is just another year of the referees making poor calls regarding Caitlin Clark. And what's getting fans, analysts, and even players upset isn't just one bad night. It's a pattern, a long, frustrating, borderline dangerous pattern, and it dates back to last season. It was clear that she would be treated differently because of the increased physicality, players taking extra liberties, and the referees swallowing their whistles. It began early and frequently, and there were times last year when Caitlin looked visibly shaken. I don't know, I appreciate that Christy got a tech too, but I don't know. Then, of course, there was the Kennedy Carter incident when Caitlin Clark was blindsided off the ball in what was obviously a frustration foul. What did the referees do? They called it a common foul, not a flagrant. That was the tipping point for many fans. What would happen in real time? And the worst part is that the non-calls continued to follow Caitlin all the way into the playoffs. For example, do we not recall the playoffs last year when Caitlin Clark was in the air and Marina Mabrey blocked a shot on her arm? Every blocking foul that followed the hit on her arm fell, and she simply arrived late and said, Caitlin's not getting a layup. She then jumped sideways into her, took her arms out, knocked her to the ground, and stopped because she knew she had failed. The referees said, play on. But players are always going to play hard because Caitlin Clark is the best player on the court most nights, so there's no problem with hard fouls or letting the game flow. However, the consistency hasn't been there. Fever seemed to always get the short end of the foul stick, and things didn't get any better during the preseason. It's kind of interesting that Caitlin Clark hasn't been to the free throw line at all. She wasn't getting any free throws, zero. And it's not because in the first few games alone, there was a clear pattern of Clark drives taking contact, getting hacked, and nothing whistles staying in the pockets. Eventually, the frustration boiled over, as you could see in her body language, and definitely feel it when she was given a tech for pointing out the obvious. The imbalance continued in the 3 regular season games before the matchup against the Liberty. Stephanie White will lay out the numbers in a minute, and they're mind-blowing. We're talking about a clear disparity, but some people dismissed it, saying it's just early season stuff, that things would calm down and the officiating would become more reliable. Well, the Fever's big game against the Liberty, the reigning champions, was the ideal test. Let's be clear, this was an exciting game with plenty of drama. The crowd was boisterous, the energy was playoff level, and both teams gave it their all. I mean, they had 9 baskets, and I happened to spot a hole in the defense with 7 right-hand layups. Now Caitlin is going to wait for Leah Boston, who is a spark plug, making big plays all over the court, and Aaliyah Boston reminded everyone why she was selected first overall in 2023. Aaliyah was finishing strong in the paint, and Caitlin was threading the needle on passes. They were communicating mid-play and causing serious problems for New York's defense. This is the best passing connection I can recall since John Stockton was feeding Karl Malone in the Utah days. Although Caitlin didn't have an exceptionally strong performance by her usual standards, she still produced the kind of moments that remind you exactly who she is. She made incredible passes and hit tough shots. It wasn't her loudest stat line, but it was still a performance full of highlight reel plays, no pass shot possessions for New York. Clark stepping back 3. Oh, she hit it and draws the foul. Defending Clark, trying to create some airspace. Long 3 at the horse. Oh, the entertainment value was there. 2 evenly matched teams, playoff level intensity, and a roaring crowd, an independent. And she had a couple of sequences that blew the roof off the building, even on an off night. That's what separates stars from superstars. The ingredients were stars, shining, drama building, and a close score throughout. But when the final whistle blew, none of that made the headlines. It was one of the worst RV games I've ever seen. And the referees swallowed their freaking whistles for the second time in a row. The imbalance in foul calls was evident as Day, the Liberty, were living at the free throw line, getting 32 attempts, while the Fever only had 15, more than double in a close game like this. The difference isn't just noticeable, it's decisive, and it wasn't just the quantity, but how the fouls were called. The Liberty were receiving touch fouls, and Caitlin and her teammates were being body checked without a whistle. It seemed like 2 different rule books were in effect. The New York Liberty were at the line 32 times compared to the Fever's 15, and it was pretty clear. Now, I get called for fouls, but in this case, there were similar fouls that went uncalled on the New York Liberty that were leading to the Fever. If you're going to call every ticky-tacky foul, then fine, but call it for both teams now. But then there's this Caitlin Clark, just like during the preseason and the entire previous season was being hacked, and the officials, they just kept pushing Caitlin, saying, well, they can't just keep calling fouls. I feel like they're literally just running around hacking her, and the referees have made it a point to say that this is how you beat the Fever. You don't even need to be physical, you just hack them, because the referees will allow them to be hacked late in the game, with the Fever be hacked them not being physical. But eventually it begins to feel purposeful, as if they're sending a message to the rest of the league about how to protect Caitlin Clark. Hack them, don't go for the ball. But if the officiating wasn't already brutal, the last few seconds of the game put the Fever in a perfect position to steal a victory against the defending champions. Then the referees took over. What was that play? Oh my God, this is rigged. She was yanked and fell on her hip, which is a hack. They kept hacking Fever twice, and then there was a phantom foul called on Sabrina Ionescu first, with the game tied, and the Fever trying to take the lead. Then came the phantom foul, where Lexi Hall played textbook defense on Sabrina Ionescu and wasn't the one to initiate contact, but 2 free throws were awarded. It was the ultimate gut punch, and the referees weren't finished. Then came the worst of them all, the final possession, where she holds her watch with her shoulder and on her arm when she follows through, and then fouls her for the foul. Lead Dana Bonner drove to the basket and got hammered by Clark, who jumps it off Bonner, blocked at the top here. And Caitlin made huge body contact. With a final opportunity to tie or win the game, Caitlin Clark was fouled 4 times on her arm. The referees ignored the whistle, and Caitlin was furious. Her arms were out, and she was screaming in shock. What's even more crazy is that the referees refused to look her in the eye. The NBA analysts were shocked by what they witnessed, which was literally the fever of a chance to win the game, to advance to. They jumped through her back. Caitlin Clark shot, and Natasha Hauer did the most stupid thing she could by fouling her on a 3-point shot, and you ignored it. Fans completely lost it on the referees on social media because this wasn't just about a missed call or two. The game's inconsistency screamed that the anti-Caitlin and anti-Fever bias is still alive. Fans pointed out that Clark was being mauled on drives without whistles, while her opponents were being gift-wrapped free throws for glancing contact. The referee slapped her across the wrist as she was reaching to try to slap the ball away, and it was just an arm hack. The problem is that it's not just an isolated incident, it's a pattern, a trend, a statistic-backed reality, and it's gotten so bad that even Caitlin Clark and head coach Stephanie White are beginning to speak out. Those clips will be released soon, but first let's talk about what fans are actually pointing to. The free throw disparity, the Indiana Fever, they are getting destroyed online. Honestly, they're getting crushed during every single game. Many people have come out and asked the WNBA referees or what it's about. This season have a discrepancy of -31 in free throws, which doesn't seem right. That's correct. This season, the Fever has -31 in free throw opportunities. This is a startling disparity in a league where games are frequently decided by a few possessions. Being on the wrong end of a swing of 30 or more free throws isn't just a red flag, it's a 5-alarm fire. Sure, players and coaches try to remain neutral and chalk it up to just a part of the game, but when you combine this imbalance with all the missed calls, non-whists, and game-changing moments that consistently go against them, something needs to be said. And Stephanie White, in her post-game press conference, Stephanie White didn't hold back and went straight at the officiating, calling out the obvious disrespect that had been building all season. I thought she got fouled, but, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A -31. She made it clear that she had had enough, saying, you know what, I've had absolute enough. Game 1, okay. Game 2, okay. Game 3, all right. But today was the last straw. I could understand the free throw discrepancy if we were just chucking threes, but we're attacking the rim instead, and the disrespect for our team right now has been pretty unbelievable. It's disappointing because, as you know, it doesn't go both ways or hasn't gone both ways, and no one likes to call out the referees. However, when it gets this obvious, you have to speak up and tell the league that this kind of nonsense isn't just being noticed, it won't be tolerated. Stephanie White has gone crazy over it, and I don't blame her. At least she's making it a public issue, so now that the team isn't receiving any calls, the WNBA is at least aware of it. Perhaps more importantly, though, is that it shows her team that she is aware of what's going on and that she is willing to stand up for them, even if it means risking a fine or causing controversy. So by speaking up, she's not only trying to get a better whistle from the referees, but also making it clear that she's got their back, especially when applied to the Indiana Fever in a back-and-forth game where the team made mistakes, missed opportunities, and didn't exactly play a masterpiece, but still fought their hearts out in front of their home crowd and had a chance to win it on the final possession. What happened with the officiating can be extremely disheartening because when calls don't go your way, despite all of your hard work, it doesn't just hurt, it lingers. That's why Stephanie White's leadership is important, because it communicates to her locker room that she saw it, that she's not dismissing it, and that she's willing to speak up even if it costs her trust, especially for a new team that is still getting to know one another. As for Caitlin, she was the one who was fouled on the last play, and no whistle or assistance was offered. Everyone wanted to know how she felt about it. And while she didn't blame the referees, she didn't hide her frustration either. It wasn't my best shooting night, and I thought I could have handled the ball a little better, but there were some difficult ones, like when my arm was grabbed, but whatever, just keep shooting it. Then there was Aaliyah Boston, who adopted the traditional no-comment approach. She kept it cool and professional, but the silence said, I worked this the right way, but how do you accept officiating without letting it, I suppose, affect how you go about and play the rest of the game? It's like we have no choice because they're going to call what they want to call. So for us, even for me, I think I have to put them in the rim for just post talk, and we just have to finish through contact. If we don't get it, we don't get it, but we have to give ourselves the best chance to make that basket. Now, the thing that's worse than how the officiating affected the game's outcome is the fact that it's been a persistent issue and that it's harming the league's reputation, because this isn't just a single missed call during a crucial moment. Rather, it's a pattern, a trend, and it's happening in front of millions of new viewers. Caitlin Clark has attracted a whole new fan base, one that may be unfamiliar with the NBA, but is familiar with basketball. They understand the game, know what a foul looks like, know when a whistle is fair and when it's total bullshit. And most importantly, they watch every play every night. As a result, when they see one team consistently getting away with it while another team is unable to buy a call, they are not perplexed, rather, they are irritated. The league is trying to convert Caitlin Clark fans into full-time WNBA fans, but instead of taking advantage of the situation, the officiating has been careless, inconsistent, and at times downright embarrassing. When you combine that with viral low-light reels like Angel, you can see that the Atlanta Dream is acting very right now. She's talking to the referees about holding, and we're going to send it back to you guys. Very important question. The worst possible message is sent when Reese grabs 5 men bounds off her own misses in less than 20 seconds. This isn't just bad basketball, it's a branding disaster. You can't promote star players who are either getting hacked without any calls or playing worse than your kid brother on a plastic hoop in the driveway. More people are watching than ever before, and every missed call, blown assignment, and biased whistle plays out in front of millions of people. This isn't the time for carelessness, and it's becoming ugly. Their coach has spoken, their players are feeling it, and the fans are enraged. If you're still here, leave a goat in the comments, because that's exactly what you are for staying with me. I'll see you next time. The league needs to act now because they have the audience and the moment, but if they don't act quickly, they're going to lose both.